Hey everybody, welcome to episode 116. I finally got it. Finally. After a pretty, I don't know, not really a super huge ordeal, but just a lot of aggravation, I finally got it. Finally got the Transformers, the movie soundtrack on vinyl. Um, I almost had an original pressing. I don't know if you guys I mentioned it before, but um, I ordered it off Discogs, and this is kind of what's made me kind of hesitant to record to purchase off Discogs. Is I purchased the album. It was the original 1986 pressing or 87. I can't remember. I'll look in the back of the other record. It's got the original pressing date. But anyways, I think it was 86. The movie came out in 86, but the album might not have been released until 87. Um, it was sealed. It was in mint condition, and it was with shipping and tax. Everything was $30. So I purchased it. And I never received it. And then I eventually contacted the seller, and they put me through this huge. It was definitely a scam. I'm pretty sure, because they put me through this huge, jumping of hoops to answer questions, and it came down to that they wanted me to confirm my address, even though they had my address, and they said that they sent it, and they said it was at the post office, which supposedly it was, because I got a call from the post office, or a text from the post office saying that the package was held up because they didn't have my address, even though my address is clearly on it. And they said they wanted me to why would you send something and get it to the post office by that point and you never put the correct address on it? Why would you do that? And then they wanted me to confirm it, which I did. I said, well, that is my address, right? And then the original seller said, oh, we're sorry, we don't have another one. Of course you don't have another one. Why would you have another one? Yeah, I'm not replacing something that's almost, you can't really easily replace it. So they said, oh, well, we're sorry, we'll refund the money back, which they did. They refunded me my money back, but at the same time, um, I, well, why? So there's one hung up at the post office. So that one's gonna go where? It was really stupid. So, anyways, granted, I wasn't out a thing outside of my time and aggravation. I lost. I didn't lose any money. However, strangely enough, for the very first time in my life, I know it's happened to other people, but it's never happened to me. Is my credit card got compromised, and I had to get a new debit card, or my debit card compromised. I had to get a new debit card. Again, that was kind of a thing I had to jump through, which I'm like, this has got to be related. However, Discogs never gets your credit card information because they all the third-party sellers take payment straight through PayPal, so they never get your information. So I don't know how that happened. So maybe it's just coincidence. Whatever. It's water under the bridge at this point. I don't care. But I went on yesterday, and I'm like, oh, there's all these sales on Amazon, so I went to look for sales and stuff, and I was looking for records to see if the records in my wish list were on sale. None of them were, of course, because nothing ever goes on sale on Black Friday that I actually want to buy. So I anyways, I looked up and I said, oh, let's see if maybe selling at Transformers the movie soundtrack, or maybe there is a reissue, and I knew there was one that was like astronomically priced, but I didn't want it because it was like a special edition. I said, let's see what they've got in there. And sure enough, up pops the the original one. Not the original pressing, but the normal one, not special edition with a bunch of extra bullshit I don't want. Just the original cover, the Japanese import, and it's $30. And I got Amazon Prime, so essentially, it's free. So it's basically the same price I got. And it's a reissue, 180-gram disc. It's unopened, which it still is unopened at the point. It's not really an unboxing per se, but I'll open it because I want to see the sleeve inside. And it is, what else was I going to say? It's 180 grams, it's the reissue. Oh, I also got the digital, they gave me the digital downloads for it, so I got all the digital download stuff to it. So it was actually a better deal in the long run. So here's the album, and of course I surrounded myself with all of my movie-specific Transformers. if you hear anybody talking in the background, my son's out there playing Minecraft with his buddies online, because that's what 11-year-olds do. They play Minecraft online with their 11-year-old buddies, where 50-year-old Gen Xers like myself sit around and play with our toys, our action figures in our bedrooms, and listen to soundtracks on LP. But there it is. So I finally got it. Got the little sticker here on there from the original. Now here's one thing. I wish all records were like this, all reissues. This is I don't know if it's just because the Japanese import, because of the people who did it. Oh, by the way, 1985, the original release date. It actually came out before the movie did. That's interesting. I never had this on LP. I had it on cassette. I originally had it on cassette in the 80s when the movie was out. Actually, about a year later, in 87, I got it on cassette, and that's why I thought it was 87. And I had the CD in the 90s. So I've never had it. I always wanted it on LP, but never could find it back then. There was no internet back then, so I couldn't. There's no Amazon back then, so you pretty much were up to going to shows and record stores, unless you wanted to travel across the country to different record stores. So I got it. But no, the thing I was going to say was, I wish, so it's resealable like a comic book, a resealable comic book bag. And I love that. It's like, I wish they would all come like that, because I wouldn't have to buy sleeves. I already have a sleeve for it. They wear out after time, the resealableness of it, but you can just take the thing out and you can put it right back in. Sorry, got to do the smell test. Oh, brand new record. Doesn't smell like pot and cigarette smoke. So it doesn't have an inner sleeve. It just has the outer sleeve, which I assumed it probably was going to be pretty simplistic. And then here is the disc itself. Yep, with so perfect condition. 180 gram disc. So that's definitely going to go on the turntable this evening. And I'll sit back with some headphones. Although I did move my Klipsch speakers over to my desk over here. You can't see them, they're off camera, but I put them right here. It was just dumb. The cabinets I had them were stupid, so I put them over here so I could hear them better. So let's go back in here. I'm going to put this in the back like I normally do. And then I'll end up listening to this evening. So I'm going to stick it over here for now. Kind of not waste time doing all that. Might need to reference it anyways. Got my notes, which are old notes, which I had to reprint because I couldn't find where I printed my printout at. So I got all my notes here. I got all my Transformer buddies here to help me in this one. Let's make sure the lighting looks okay. It's flickering a little bit. So let's get into it. Well, first before I give you my analysis on it, let me give you the story with myself personally. Of course, I'm always going to give you my story. So the movie came out in 1986. I saw it at the Winchester Theater at at Winchester Mall in Rochester Hills, just in the complex with Kmart at the Winchester Mall. I went to it by myself. My dad just dropped me off. Paid for my ticket, gave me money for my ticket, which was $1.50 at the time. Went into Winchester to see. This is when they had two theaters. It wasn't when they expanded. Star Theaters, what it became, and they made like 5 or 6 theaters in the back. They converted one of the parking lots. But before that, it was just 2 theaters. And so I went in there and saw the movie, and I was blown away. It was the craziest. I was like, oh my God, this is a cartoon movie? This is insane how good this is. And I kind of, and then the toys came, not these specific, these are the newer Takara versions, but the original versions started to come out, and I started to get a couple of them. I wanted Cyclonus. He was probably my favorite bad guy. And then I wanted, I was going to say Hot Rod, but actually Blur, because the voice of the guy from the Micro Machines commercial, Blur was actually my favorite character when the movie originally came out. Then, of course, I ended up liking Hot Rod, of course. And then, of course, the token girl, RC, which she didn't have her figure back then. So I started to get a couple of them, but like I said, I never had a lot of. I've got more Transformers now, the newer versions, than I 4 times as many as I had when I was younger. But so I never had them back then. I didn't have this many back then of that. I never had the 2 Junkions, which I got the Junkions here. I never had the Shark. I don't think they had a Quintesson. I never had Galvatron. I had Cyclonus, Blur, and I think that was it. I think that's the only ones I had, to tell you the truth, now that I think about it. Yeah, because I never got Springer. When I met my buddy in '87, my Ruther friend, he was a big fan of Springer. He really liked Springer. But anyways, so and he kind of plays into this too. So I forgot about the movie kind of after, it was the 80s. There was so much stuff coming out, and my ADD, I was just like, it was cool, it was fun, I was really into it for a couple of weeks, and then on to the next thing. And it wasn't until '87 rolled around when I was at, it wasn't actually when I was at Ruther, it was the freshman year of high school. My buddy that I just met at Ruther in 8th grade, he was talking about it, and he had the soundtrack. So then I was like, I gotta get the soundtrack. I think he had it on cassette as well. I don't think he had records. So I ended up getting the soundtrack myself. I think I bought it at Harmony House in Rochester. That or Kmart, one of the two. So I had the cassette of it. And I listened to that thing, like literally almost wore it out. Just kept listening to it over and over again. We thought that was the cool. I was just like, this is so cool. It was like, I liked heavy metal, obviously, but it's just like, I loved the movie Heavy Metal. But I was like, I really, really love the soundtrack. I mean, you got the touch, Dare. I mean, if you guys know the soundtrack, you know about everything on it. I mean, it's some pretty good stuff. And then in 9th grade, we ended up kind of befriending another guy that I kind of knew before but didn't know him that well. And he was real big into drawing the Transformers, and I started with him. We started drawing them all. He was big into the soundtrack as well. I kind of became a thing, but I still had never seen the movie again at this point. I don't think they replayed it on TV because they started the 3rd season, but I don't think they played the movie on TV. I remember it was a really weird thing. We ended up stopping by a kid's house that I didn't normally hang out with in high school. He had a copy of it that he recorded from cable or something, or double taped it. And he was like, we stopped at his house like after school. I remember he didn't go to school that day or something. He was sleeping, and then he came out and he looked all like he was half asleep. He was like, oh yeah, here, take the tape. I remember just slipping it through the window. And then I took the tape home and watched it, and it was the first time I had seen it since the theater. And I was blown away again. I was like, oh, I love this movie. And like I said, I don't think I ever gave him that tape back, and I ended up literally wearing that tape out. I don't think I've ever owned a store-bought, I always call them store-bought copies, a store-bought copy of Transformers the movie. I don't think I ever have. I have had one version of the movie on DVD in like the very early 2000s, like literally 2001 or 2002. I found it on DVD at a media play, and it was like, $10 or something. So I ended up getting that. I don't know exactly where all those DVDs went, but I had it, and then I ended up getting the soundtrack on CD right about the same time. It might even been a little bit, might have been into the 90s. I had the soundtrack on CD. And I remember having to track that down was kind of hard too. I think that was a Japanese import. Bought it off, I wouldn't say it was Amazon. I bought somewhere online through something. It might have been Amazon, like when Amazon was really new. It might have been Amazon. And it was a Japanese import. And it was like $30, I think. This would have been 2000. It was not 1999. It would have been 2000, maybe 2001. Right around there. And I believe it was Amazon. But anyways, it was hard to find then. And I paid the same price over 20 years ago for it on CD. So it tells you how kind of sought after it was. I mean, it's a huge cult movie. I'll get to the kind of some of the cult fandom that's kind of crazy. I'll show you something here towards the end of the video. But and like I said, ever since then I've just been in love. I tried to find some of the other Transformers like after the fact. But yeah, this was like one of the huge. It was like next to like Aliens or Heavy Metal or movies like that. I mean, this is one of those movies I literally watched well over 1,000 times. To where every line of the movie. So. Anyways, let's get into the soundtrack itself. So somebody knows, as I said, released in 1986, which is probably true because that's what I'm getting this stuff off of Wikipedia. Even though the record itself still says originally released 1985 is the first pressing of it. That may be true, but again, this is a Japanese import. Maybe it was released in Japan first. I'm not sure. Uh, but let's just say right 85, 86, right there. Right, it's that time period. The United States by Scotti Brothers Records on LP and cassette. Scotti Brothers? No, this is At the Movies. Okay, so this is not the original Scotti Brothers release. This is a different, because it's the Japanese, because it's a different company. Yeah. So, anyway, Scotti Brothers, and in Japan by Pony Canyon on CD. Oh, but it was never released. I don't think it was ever released in Japan on LP at the time. So in 1989, it was released on CD. In 1992, Scotti Brothers released the album on CD in the United States. That makes sense. And then by 1999, it was subsequently reissued by eventual successor company Volcano Entertainment in 1999. That must have been the one that I ended up getting on CD. And was re-released in 2007 with updated cover art. Yes, and yeah, the bonus tracks. I don't want that one. That's the one I did not want. Alright, so track 1, I guess the easiest way to keep track of this would be to pop up the what do you call it, this guy here, the YouTube music. So this is the YouTube music from my library here. You know what's weird is I downloaded the music after I purchased it, and then it took me to YouTube Music to download it, but it's not the same, because if you notice, there's no download here. Which it's like, is it the same YouTube music? That part's confusing. But anyways, where are we at? Okay, so track 1, yeah. So track 1, The Touch. I mean, obviously it's probably the most iconic song off the album. It's, you got the touch. It's when, when Megatron and Optimus Prime, have their big fight. Great song. I mean, great timing on that. It was just perfect. It says song's perhaps the most popular track on the album, which comes during the big fight between Optimus Prime and Megatron. Yeah, this is by Stan Bush, which I think he had a band at the time called Barrage. The only reason I know that was from that other friend, the drawing friend of Transformers. He was real big into he had the cassettes of the band Barrage. They're really obscure. I mean, this album in general is kind of obscure. It's got a huge cult following. It's very sought after, very popular, but it is a very niche crowd that likes this, which is probably, if you're watching this, you're probably in that niche crowd, or maybe you'll become into that niche crowd. So yeah, he's an American singer, songwriter, rock musician. The songs that, no doubt, the most popular. Other hits that he had is he has Hearts versus Heads from the soundtrack of The Wraith, which is weird because I noticed that the movie The Wraith, which also came out in 1986, the one with, I think it was Charlie Sheen, and I can't remember what the girl's name was in it, but they had the cool car, the all-black car. That movie, it's a lot of Stan Bush on that movie as far as their soundtrack. I think Vince DiCola, actually, who does the score, who also did Rocky IV, also does music on that soundtrack, and a bunch of the extras on The Wraith also are the voice actors from a lot of the Transformers. So I don't know. I'm assuming The Wraith and Transformers movies were kind of a partner production, or by the same producers, same production company, same studio. Never Surrender, Streets of Siam, Flight for Love, all from the movie Kickboxer. So Stan Bush is also known for his Kickboxer fame with Jean-Claude Van Damme, which I think was 87 or 88, right around there as well. And then he did Fight to Survive, and what was the other big song? It was Fight to Survive. Oh no, and On My Own, which is the theme songs from Bloodsport, the movie, which I think also is 87. So all this stuff kind of came out. Transformers, The Wraith, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, all of these stuff. Of course, I was all over at that same time. So that's for Stan Bush fame of that. He also does a few more songs. We'll get to those as well. Track number 2, Instruments of Destruction. I'm probably going to go over on this one because I've been waiting a long time to make this video, and I've got I'm going to go through it just like I'm doing. So I'll probably go over my new 45-minute time limit. But yeah, what do we got here? Yeah, Instruments of Destruction, great song. NRG was the band. I think they went by they also go by a different name. Did I write that down? NRG formed in 1986. This song is their biggest claim to fame. I think they were also called another band at the time too. This song plays after the Decepticons breach the Autobot shuttle, start killing most of the old Transformers off. So this is like where it started, where literally it's like they wanted you to buy all new toys, right? So they were just going to, instead of like just coming out with them, they were going to just kill off all the old toys. So in the movie, the Decepticons attack the shuttle, and they start playing the Instruments of Destruction song. And this is before, Megatron turns into Galvatron. And they just start mowing down all the Transformers on the deck. I think Brawn, Ironhide, because he's like... such heroic nonsense. He blows away Ironhide. Prowl, one of my favorites. He goes. Ratchet gets blasted. I can't remember else. But a great song, great section of that. This is probably the most heavy metal song on the album. It's because it's the Decepticon song. It's got to be evil, right? And a lot of pinch harmonic guitar playing. A lot of guitar playing. It's very of that time. But great song. Third track on it was The Death of Optimus Prime. Now this starts Vince DiCola was the composer, did the score. And a lot of the score is done, it's kind of like Jan Hammer. He does a lot of it, with digital, a lot of synthesizers. It's not like orchestral. It's very synthesized, because it's supposed to be, it's Transformers. You got Soundwave, everything's all synthesizers. It's got to sound all robot-y, right? So he does that, although I think a lot of the tracks on here, I don't know if I put this in my notes, but a lot of the tracks, so Vince Louise DiCola, an American composer, keyboardist, and arranger. He composed scores for the movies such as Staying Alive, Rocky IV, Transformers the movie, and The Wraith. So, especially Rocky IV, which also is, I believe, is 86, which I did see that in the theater, same theater. I think that a lot of the tracks were probably either left over. They were written for Rocky, and then they ended up on the Transformers soundtrack, or vice versa, because they sound just like each other. And then of course Stan Bush doing music on Rocky IV too, kind of made. Was it Stan Bush? Rocky IV. I know the Kickbuster stuff. Maybe Stan Bush didn't do music on Rocky IV. I know. What do you call it? Survivor came back and did the. Two worlds collide, rise a nation. That song, I can't remember what the name of the song is. And then the Hearts of Desire, whatever that song. I think that's also Survivor. I can't remember. I always thought it was Stan Bush, but I guess it's the other band. But anyways, so yeah, the Death of Optimus Prime plays during, obviously, the Death of Optimus Prime, which is probably the most divisive scene in the movie, because everybody, it's weird. Everybody made a big stink of that, and especially online, a lot of the internet hyperbole really likes to go off about, kids were leaving the theater crying. The movie theater was packed when I saw it, right? And I didn't see any kids crying, and I wasn't crying. It's not that I'm saying, I don't cry. Trust me, I cry. But I was just like, oh, yeah, well, Optimus. I didn't really like Optimus Prime back then. I wasn't really. I know he's a beloved character, but I wasn't really that into Optimus Prime. I never had the toy, the original toy. No, yeah, I did. I ended up getting the original toy, but it's not like one I really wanted. I've got him now. I've got the newer version of him, but I was just like, okay, so Optimus Prime dies. It's just like I didn't think much of it, and I was the age that they were trying to. Maybe I was a little older than I should have been, but I was. That's the age they're trying to get these kids, and try to pull a dupe on them, and I guess it sort of worked, because I did go out and buy some new Transformers, but again, this one thing corporate America and these companies, it's really hard for them to deal with these kids with no attention span. It's like they want to hook you into buying all these new toys. Well, guess what? Some kids just don't have the attention span. They're in it for about a week or two, and then boom, they're on to something else, right? So, you know, I think their ploy didn't work 100%. I mean, I didn't rebuy every Transformer. I didn't get rid of my old ones, obviously. Well, I don't know what happened to them all eventually, but I think my mom had something to do with that. But anyways, yeah. So sorry. Let's get to the next song. So the next song is track 4, Dare, which is also Stan Bush. Personally, my favorite song on the album. Dare comes in when Hot Rod is fishing with Dano, Daniel, Spike's son, and there's this great scene where it's the music, hey, the shuttle's launching, let's go watch it, and all of a sudden the guitar kicks in. Sorry, I'm geeking out. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyways, the song kicks in, and then he transforms, and then Danny's riding his little board. He's like, if you're gonna ride, Dano, ride in style, and he puts him aside. And then there's that great animation sequence, which is like it's like you've got the cars moving, you got the background moving, and then you got the foreground, like the midground moving all at the same time. And it's like super light sourcing animation, the light sourcing on all the animation, and it just looks so amazing. And the music's just so, getting goosebumps now thinking about it. That scene is just awesome. So Dare is my favorite song in the album. And I think it comes back later on in the movie during the final battle. I think it does. I can't remember exactly. Did I put that note down there? Plays when Hot Rod, voiced by Judd Nelson, also voiced Hot Rod, just to let you know. I was going to do the heavy metal, and this is technically my movie review as well. I don't currently own the movie on anything. I've got a Blu-ray rip of it on a hard drive, a little thumb drive stick. I can play it on my big TV. That's my version of it. Eventually, maybe I'll try to pick up a copy of it, but I guess I don't really need one at this point. When I can just watch that until that detonates. I can just recopy that and make another copy of it. So that's the way I've been watching the movie. And again, I don't want to play any scenes from the movie because I don't want to get my copyright ding in here. So where are we at? We're still in Dare. Yeah, so plays when Hot Rod, voiced by Judd Nelson and Spike's son Daniel, are introduced. The song starts during, in my opinion, the best animation sequence of the movie. It's my favorite song on the album. It just has more energy, energon, ha 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 ha, and then You Got the Touch. I do. I think it's got more energy than You Got the Touch. More energon than You Got the Touch. Sorry, I gotta beat that joke. So let's see. Going to track 5. Nothing's Gonna Stand in Your Way by Spectre General. I got some notes on Spectre General. I didn't know much about Spectre. I do have a little bit of notes. Oh, that was the band. Had the 2 different names. Spectral General, also known as Kick-Axe. Haha. Speaking of wordplay, Kick-Axe. It's a Canadian. Of course, they're Canadian heavy metal band from Regina, Saskatchewan. How many? Outside of Rush and Triumph, where are the rest of the bands from Canada? But yeah, Canadian heavy band from Regina, Saskatchewan. That's in the middle of freaking nowhere. They're also called Kick-Axe, yeah. So this song plays when Hot Rod and Cup, which of course Cups is the old time is in there, and he's they're fighting the Sharkticons when they're underwater when they first crash land on the Quintesson planet, which I can't remember what it was called. Quintesson? It was just called Quintesson was the name of the planet. Yeah, they're playing their shuttle crashes. They're in this giant underwater fish tank. I think it comes back, doesn't it, during the... Is it the same song? No, that's a different song. Hunger, I think, is the song that's playing when they're in the mockery of justice. I'll get to that one. But yes, that's the scene where, of course, the classic quote, which I think my son and I just used it this morning, too. The Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninny Bong, which is the universal greeting. Universal greeting. It's when Cup tries to give Sharkticon an energon goodie, and he says Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninny Bong, which is universal greeting. Ha ha ha. So I still say that sometimes. Whenever I see something that I can't pronounce, I'm like, Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninny Bong. So yeah, Spectre General. So let's get on track 6. So track 6 is by a band called Lion. Now, for the longest time, I could have sworn that I thought it was White Lion. The band does, like Rising Up, Little Fighter, and the Wait, which also was a big album at that time. And the album's called Wait. I had it on CD. I would need to get it on LP. But White Lion had that song, had that album. And so I always thought it was White Lion did the soundtrack, even though when you listen to it, it's clearly not White Lion. It's a band just called Lion. But I remember all telling kids all the time in high school, it's just like, yeah, that White Lion, they do a song on the Transformers soundtrack. Oh, really? This was, like I said, this is the 80s, too. This is when you didn't really want to, you kind of wanted to keep all that stuff on the hush-hush, that, this stuff, was in your world. And if you weren't listening to, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, or Ozzy or something like that, you weren't listening, you were, I won't use the word, but was a word used to call kids back then. That's offensive to people now. But anyways, yeah, and it's like if you were in high school and you're talking about, yeah, Transformers the movie, it's just like, it's not like, I mean, nowadays, I don't know if kids don't even know what it is nowadays, but anyways, even if it was, I mean, kids are wearing Pokemon shirts, at 25 years old, and, so, I mean, it doesn't really matter now, but back then it was a thing. You didn't really want to go around broadcasting your love of Transformers, or Transformers the movie in school, no matter how cool and rockin' the soundtrack was. Where are we at here? That's a touch, okay. So we had Lion, Lion does the main song. Lion also does American rock band best known for their songs and their debut song, Love is a Lie, in the Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter movie. I did not know that. I had to do a commission pretty recently on that movie, and I watched the whole movie a couple of times to kind of, look at the scenes and stuff, and I don't remember the song, but apparently it was in there. And then they had, their other song was Never Surrender and Power Love. Power Love. From what movie? The Wraith. There you go. There's the Wraith connection with Lion was on that. Follow-up track to that was, and of course that's the title soundtrack. So right when after Unicron eats that planet, it goes in the doots, 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 and it goes like Transformers. That part. So we're going into track 7, which is Escape, which is another, synthesizer score piece by Vince DiCola. Then track 8, sorry, that was track 7. Track 8 is another Spectre General song, is Hunger. That's the one that's playing during the mockery of Josh Dash, the court scene when the Quintessons and Hot Rod and or Cup are having that thing, and then they get dumped into the Sharkticon tank. So they're fighting Sharkticons again. And they're playing the Hunger song. Hunger, I feel it so bad I can't taste it. That's a great song. Anyways, how are we doing time? We're still going. Okay. Track number 9, the Autobot Decepticon battle. Another Vince DiCola. That's the one where it's literally the Autobot City when they're attacking Autobot. When the Decepticons are blitzing Autobot City. That part. So that's a pretty good one too. I said I like all of the Vince DiCola stuff. It sounds very, like when you hear it, you're like, oh, Transformers. Even when you hear it in Rocky IV, you're like Transformers. And then the final track on the album is track 10 with Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al Yankovic. That is not, so the song plays when the Autobots land on Junkion, which is the planet of junk. That's Wreck-Gar. And here's one, and then this is I think Junk Heap, I think is his name. He's the other Junkion, which they transform into motorcycles, and they start playing the. It's when we first encounter those characters, which of course he's voiced by Eric Idle, which is kind of cool in the movie. I think Eric Idle and Orson Welles, I think, got top billing as far as their voices over everybody else, even over Judd Nelson, Robert Stack. And Leonard Nimoy too. Leonard Nimoy does the voice of Galvatron. I say here, although many of Weird Al's songs directly parody other songs, he also parodies song styles. Oh yeah, sorry, that's the thing, yeah. So it wasn't a direct parody of a song, but it was a parody of a song style of Devo, pretty much. I mean, it sounds like a Devo song. He said he once says he was trying to make the song more Devo than Devo. That's a quote by him himself. Which is also weird. But no, this is so that song though wasn't specifically for the movie. That was one. It was on one of his albums. I think it was on yeah, Dare to Be Stupid is Yankovic's third studio album, which also features the famous singles Like a Virgin, which parodies Madonna's Like a Virgin. And I also put down here. He even gives permission. Oh yeah, so in the song he gives permission to squeeze the Charmin as a what do you call it? As long as Mr. Whipple's not around. This is, I'm thinking of the song. You'll squeeze all the Charmin you can when Mr. Whipple's not around. So I don't know if anybody younger than me knows what that is. And I don't know how long it ran, but it ran for a long time. There's a long-running 80s TV commercial for Charmin, the Charmin, the bathroom tissue, because now they got the bears, the enjoy the go. Right? Back in the day, it was live action. It was this guy, I think it was the same guy that does the Dunkin' Donuts, the time to make the donuts. I'm covering my mustache because there's just this commercial where he's trying to play a woman, but he has this clear mustache, and he's like, hello! But anyways, it's the same guy. I think the time to make the donuts guy is the same as Mr. Whipple, and he was in this commercial for Charmin, and the whole thing, what it was, is, everybody'd come in and they'd grab the Charmin and they'd start squeezing it so soft. And he would get mad at everybody and say, hey, don't squeeze the Charmin. He had a megaphone one time. He'd blow it in old lady's face. Don't squeeze the Charmin. So that always became the thing, don't squeeze the Charmin. So in the song, Weird Al gives permission, that you can squeeze the Charmin as long as Mr. Whipple's not around. So again, little tidbit in there that's kind of subtle that I think would fall flat on most people nowadays, because unless you're my age or older, you don't even know what that is, those commercials. So is that it? That's my end of my notes here, because that's the last track. So I guess in closing on this, let me go back to my full video. Again, I love the album. I'm glad I finally have it. I think I have, like I said, there was no rock and roll soundtrack. So I pretty much, let's see, I've got the Flash Gordon soundtrack, I've got the heavy metal soundtrack, I've got the Transformers soundtrack. It makes me think. I'd like to get the Wraith soundtrack if it exists. But anyways, as far as most of the soundtracks that I was really trying to track down, I have them all now on LP. And obviously I could have made this video a long time ago. I just wanted this album to come, and it never came. And then when I was able to get it at the last minute here just yesterday, and it came today, I was all excited to get it. So, and I kind of wanted to just hold off obviously you can tell with my enthusiasm, this is not a depressing video like I normally have. I'm pretty pumped for this one. I got a lot of excitement for this one. So, and I wanted to kind of share that excitement on the day I got the record, because I'm pretty pumped about it. So, again, great album, great movie, highly recommend it. I can't recommend it anymore. And I still think, especially animation-wise, the movie stands up today to anything. If you stack Transformers the movie up against any modern-day animation, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's, Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse or whatever. I don't care if it's the best anime that ever made, Transformers the movie, hand down, is easily one of the best animated movies ever to be produced. I think it's just amazing. The story, the characters, the soundtrack, everything about it is just, you couldn't get any better than that. And that's the thing, is I think with movies like all the Michael Bay Transformers, which, don't get me started on those, it doesn't even hold a candle. I applaud his effort for trying, and the first Bay movie was okay, but it was just so butchered of what everything actually was. And it's just, this is what happens when Hollywood, and Hollywood was involved in this, but of course this was directly, I can't remember the producers are on it, but I'm assuming it was probably Hasbro. Hasbro Entertainment was definitely part of this. I think Marvel Comics Group. Oh, and it's a Dino De Laurentiis production too. So that goes to show you, De Laurentiis is he's pretty hardcore as far as keeping things true to form. I mean, say what you want about the Conan movie, it was still pretty true to form, even though it was, a little more of an artsy film as far as in comparison to the books and comics. But and Dune, of course, it was a Lynch movie, sure. So there, yeah, I mean, I guess there are, Flash Gordon. I guess there's lots of stuff that De Laurentiis had his hands in that kind of, but even though it strayed from the source material a bit, it was still pretty beholden to the source material, and it was just damn good. I think the problem with nowadays stuff is even stuff that strays off the course of source material just sucks. So, this was back when stuff was good. And, I know I'm old guy preaching the cloud, but it's true. I think it's almost objective at this point that the stuff back then, this movie, hands down, just obliterates all of the Michael Bay shit. The toys, the designs, everything kills it. So, again, I'm being subjective. Hold on, I'm being sequestered here for a second. My son went in dinner, so I need to go and make us some din here. All right, so yeah, let me close it. Remember, like and subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I don't know what the next video is going to be, but this one, like I said, this was a long time coming. This one, a long time in the waiting to do this video, and a long time waiting for this to arrive. So now that it's here, now that I've kind of put my cards on the table, literally, or my Transformers on the table. Now I got to put them all back, which is always a pain in the neck. But I will see you on the next one, and what else? I don't know. I'm gonna go make some food. All right, talk to you then. Bye bye.